but not on Facebook though. So we're live on Riverside and on the Tube. So let's get right into it. Brock and Ellis back with us as we move away from Super Bowl Sunday, man, and the incredible performance of the Bad Bunny himself. I mean, it was an incredible performance. I really enjoyed it. Watched it a couple times after I got home. I was at a Super Bowl function, scholarship fundraiser, and everybody was paying attention to it, though, which was quite exciting. And it was nice to have the cultural references in there that I will admit, but I had to do it with Kendrick too. Had to get somebody to explain it and break it all down for me because there were so many hidden messages in there, including, the sugarcane plantation, as a nod to colonialism and Caribbean slavery. We forget that slaves were held in the Caribbean, because of how much longer it was pervasive in the U.S. But I thought he did a huge job sending out political references in an American way, right? Exercising his First Amendment right and, really driving it home with the art. I mean, the music was phenomenal.
You know, our Sunday afternoon, which is the last podcast we did right before the Super Bowl, I expressed a concern that
Mm,
would Bad Bunny be able to deliver on
yeah.
the massive expectations that were embedded in there, And to me, it was like an entertaining show, but there's just like with Kendrick, there's no doubt that me, generic white guy viewer, missed a
Yeah.
whole bunch of what he was saying along the way, and I'm gonna need a primer, and then I'm gonna go back and watch it again. Like with the Kendrick, I had missed so much of the Crip Walk, this, that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of had missed like at least 10 or 12 of the messages. Bad Bunny,
Oh, you're not alone.
I may have missed every single one of them, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, Bad Bunny had a reference in there to a businesswoman in Williamsburg, New York, Brooklyn. Like we know how much that section of New York City has been um, uh, just gentrified, right? I mean, to the point where it's almost unaffordable now. Like you have to be among the elite
Hmm.
to overlook the East River toward Manhattan, as expensive as it is now. And there is a woman there who was in the halftime show who's Puerto Rican, who has owned the Caribbean Social Club, which is a business that, she won't sell, she won't get out. They've tried to kick her out, they've tried to buy her out, and she won't move. And so when he went to take that shot, that's where he got the shot from, the Caribbean Social Club. And so, it was, kind of a nod to gentrification, to the long-standing Puerto Rican community because, the Puerto Rican community got kicked out of Williamsburg too. It wasn't just black folk that got booted out of there. That was a pretty well-known Puerto Rican enclave. Williamsburg was until we started gentrifying it, and those are some of the hidden references that we couldn't have known. We didn't grow up in Williamsburg, but the Puerto Rican community knows about it, and you better believe Puerto Ricans all over New York City know about it. That's why she's still in business, probably because they still come to patronize.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. I got a lot of homework to do on that one, but I want to see it again, right? It was a good
Yeah,
performance. The whole thing was just like compelling and interesting. And obviously he's the artist of the moment, right? I mean, he
yes,
crushed it on the Grammys, and I'm just glad it happened, right? I feel like MAGA America needs to see this stuff and to stop
yep,
thinking that there's this one, like, one lane of like heritage that makes
right,
up America, or that there only should be one lane of
right,
heritage that makes up America, and it's just not true. And
right.
they're trying to, in essence, in their minds, recreate an America that actually never existed. and whitewash everyone else out of the picture. So, I mean, I think he delivered on it, right? I haven't looked at, I mean, I barely bother. Like I said the other day, where quote, MAGA melts down because, like, so I barely bothered to read what the backlash would have been. I saw like one headline, some real housewives star complained that there were no white people in it.
Oh,
And I'm just
jeez,
like, ah,
Aaron.
here we go. Like, so I know that's floating out there that there is a counter argument of people saying that that was absurd and not what should have been shown, and maybe they did watch
Wasn't
the kid
enough.
maybe they watched the Kid Rock thing. I don't know, but I just feel like MAGA's lost momentum. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I feel like even
Yeah,
the narrative of the complaints has just like, I don't know. It just tipped
lost.
over. I think people are tired of the complaints. I don't know. What's your read on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you. Um, and you know what I always go back to, Brock? The Achilles heel of Donald Trump at all is the Epstein files. You can't be a MAGA supporter and want the Epstein files to come out. You can't be both. Trump won't let you. And if the Epstein files come out in their entirety, like they were supposed to have when? Back in January, early January? Or was it late December? Whenever they were supposed to come out.
Yes,
If they
yes.
come out in their entirety, we'll see the full depravity of Trump, Leon Black, the prestigious law firm attorney who lost his spot.
Yeah. Weiss.
Uh,
Well, the name of the firm was
Ice.
called Weiss. I forget his name.
Yep. We'll see the full depravity of these folks, and you can't have it both ways. That's why the Rogans of the world are conflicted. These podcasts, Andrew Schultz, right? What do I complain about? Do I complain about the lack of whiteness in the halftime show, or do I complain about the Epstein files? Like, Trump is going to crush me if I complain about the Epstein. You can't have it both ways. So MAGA is contorting itself into, all kinds of, fuckery, right? To try to keep something, and nothing, is landing. They haven't landed a punch in months, Brock. In months. The Venezuela thing fell flat. Iran is falling flat.
Greenland.
Every
Greenland.
Greenland fell hugely flat. Talking about going into Europe and leaving NATO, that failed bigly. Everything is missing. And so, yeah, I'm right with you on that. I totally agree.
Yeah, this is slippage. But even the stories that are dripping out on the Epstein files, right? Lutnick has to do a major backpedal and admit he
Hmm.
had lunch on the island with his family. I mean,
What is
seriously?
going
That's where you go? That's where you take your family for lunch? You
on?
fucking kidding me? With the world's most renowned pedophile? When you say
Dude,
that you knew?
dude,
Okay, and then you have Trump's comments to the FBI trickle out where he's saying to a prosecutor or something in Palm Beach that everybody knew what Epstein was up to, yet it's in total contradiction to what he had said later years that he had no idea, but he's on record years before, saying that, everybody knew, just in essence basically caught in a lie, but he'll,
right. Yeah,
try to, you know, Scooby his way around it, but like
right.
the lies are too obvious and too clear, and you're caught in them in print. So I don't know
And
how to
Brock,
get out of the box. It's in the yeah. There's just a decline. The sad part is that there's no mechanism outside the 25th Amendment or impeachment
right,
to actually get real change.
right.
So you still have ICE running around, you know, terrorizing Americans.
Terrorizing,
Like
right.
it's not like it's not like Bongino. Bongino got fired and Homans pulled things back. 700 agents leaving Minneapolis. We don't even know if that really happened. That was just an
Right,
announcement. We don't.
right,
And even if it did, there's still the same activity going on the streets. So
right.
nothing's changed on the ICE front.
Yeah.
So we have the same
And,
problems, even though more and more Americans have turned against it, but they don't. There's no
right.
mechanism for change or
And you know,
protest.
that's the biggest issue too. He's got no policies that are winning. His economic policies certainly aren't, you know, especially with the news that's coming out now that, you know, we may have been hoodwinked, run amok, led astray, bamboozled. You know, like we know the economy is for shit. Why are they trying to tell us it's not? I
Yeah,
don't, I don't,
apparently
I don't get it.
the employment numbers are being revised dramatically negatively. It's not actually as I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but what does confirmed mean in this administration, right? It's just whether they got a lie or real facts, right? They tripped up the propaganda and maybe slipped something out truthful by mistake, and now they'll try to backpedal over it. But having said all that, we knew the statistics that we're seeing were not matching any of the anecdotes and the stories we were hearing, right? So there's like a total
No doubt.
dichotomy between stories on the street, headlines of layoffs, and the official employment numbers. They have not
Yep.
jived since Trump took over. So we know things are
Right.
worse than they're saying. Um, maybe it's a
And
bit of a
again,
maybe it's a bit of a confirmation that way.
right. And again, who's letting us down? The media. Because the media can get the numbers if they want the actual numbers. That should be a deep dive that they should have been doing from the outset. And here we are, you know, a year plus, what, going on 13 months into this shit show. You know, and the media still wants to take the Trump administration at its word. Are you fucking high? What are you talking about? You know, you want to piss on us and tell us it's raining when it comes to this stuff. This is how people actually make a living. You know, some of this economic data, like people use in their daily jobs, right? How are people supposed to do their job? How are people supposed to fill orders? How are people supposed to know how much inventory they need, how much stock to carry, right? For those people who are in that line of work. And the government's fucking lying to us. And they're lying to us, and there's no consequences and or repercussions.
Not yet. Not yet. And, you know, I mean, the wait for November crew, I guess they're only 9 months away now from getting in the voting booth, but
Right.
9 months is a fucking eternity when you got a fucking maniac with
At
the
9 months.
nuclear codes that has no idea what's going on around him. But the interesting thing, getting back to the Epstein files, is like
Exactly.
it's almost odd to watch the fallout in the UK versus in the US, where in the US basically no one's had any ramifications, right, except for Epstein, who got basically murdered, and Ghislaine, who's at Club Fed, playing tennis and getting manicures, right, at quote jail. Other than those
Right.
two, nothing's happened to anyone, barely even any shame. And in the UK, they're having like this big heart to heart where they feel it's breaking them, and they need to really self-examine what went on. And they've had a bunch of people resign and or get fired, and they weren't even at the heart of it, right?
Yep.
They're peripheral
No.
players in all of this, and they're having a big
Collateral.
they're having a big national conversation about it, right? Like the royal family is feeling the need to address it, of course, because Andrew is like, pedophile number 2. So
Yeah.
it's just amazing that they've actually faced it head on and dealt with it, at least to some extent.
Right.
We haven't. We have
We
not.
haven't, and we're not, and we are not going to until somebody gets the balls that Merrick Garland did not have,
Yeah.
right? Because remember, this stuff was sitting on Garland's desk.
Yeah.
Biden knew about it. Obama knew about it. Nobody wanted to, cross the line when it comes to prosecuting the other party. Why do you have to worry if you're a Democrat, right? Like President Obama, you shouldn't have to worry. Bill Clinton, fuck him. If he's molesting children, he's got to go.
But even
just
he's
like the rest of them.
even he's willing to testify
Yes,
in public.
exactly,
You know, I mean, it'll
exactly.
be embarrassing for him. Maybe he just thinks his activities weren't, that bad. Maybe he wasn't as deep as some
Right.
others. But I mean, he's like the only one now, like willing to go public and say something. So yeah, it's a mess. But I just feel like that slow trickle
Yep.
is working against Trump. I'm just still amazed. Amazed is the wrong word. Disappointed. I mean, that these MAGA congressmen and senators like have not peeled
Yeah.
away from the racism, the pedophilia, the the working against American interests, the corruption. Like, there's nothing that can crack some of these
Right.
people. I mean, look, a bunch of the congressmen are stepping away and not running again, right? It's going to be
Right.
an alarmingly high number that aren't running
Right.
for reelection, but that's not enough. Like,
No.
it's not even nearly enough.
No.
Like, say something, do something. Like,
No.
your country's falling apart in front of you. Seriously,
Right.
you're in the seat.
Right. Yeah. And no one wants to. And that's, what really is, just disgusting about the whole thing, Brock. When you think about what was done to these young women, and because they were girls
Oh
at the
my
time, they
God,
were children.
they were kids.
That's the worst part.
They were kids.
They were kids. And we're sitting here supposed to be, the moral compass of what? Of what, alternative universe can the US, claim the moral high ground on?
We can't
I
be
say nothing.
we can't be better until
No.
we defeat MAGA. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it starts with getting rid of Trump, but we really have to defeat MAGA. We just can't get better when they have really any hold on any lever of power and influence in America. Like, they really
Right.
literally have to be eradicated from any aspect of decision making in our country, and then maybe we can get like some element of a moral clarity back. And by the way, a better one than we had in the past. That's a much better one than we have in the past. The revolutionary one.
Right.
We talked pre-show a little bit about my several days back in our hometown that I've spent,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's eye-opening, but also just even just talking to people from back there, just like, God, me plus other people. I'm putting myself in that camp. We comfortable middle America, right? Everything but the picket fence, suburban, white, middle America, were oblivious, intentionally oblivious to the
Yeah.
plight of other people in our society and very often in our proximity. And
Right.
we're complicit in the decline of America. Because of that, we allowed a
And
MAGA movement.
but the thing is that don't forget the media's, involvement in this, right? Because as media took off, right, so did the vitriol, so did the angst and anger. As we got more and more exposure to more and more media, remember we moved away from reporting just the facts to
Hmm.
reporting just the opinions and
Hmm.
just the differences
Yeah.
and just the frightening, just the scary part, right? Because that's what sold, right? And D.W. Griffith, Birth of a Nation, who's been the boogeyman, the black and brown people. So, let's not give the media a pass because they don't fucking deserve it, right? And so that's why I don't watch local news anymore.
I know
I barely
you're more. Look,
watch, you know.
I'm anti-media. You're more apt to blame it because you were in it, so maybe you know the power it can have and to shape narratives and the like.
Absolutely.
I will also flip it over and say the media moved in that direction also because the eyeballs would go with them. So I think it's also a complicit viewing public, right? That
Yep.
allowed it to
Yep.
happen. They kind of ate the dog food that was served, and we lapped it up, pretty
Right.
easily in an unchallenged manner, right? We just
Right.
so it fed on itself, and they're like, okay, we'll feed them more, right? Let's have
Yes. Yes.
feed them more channels, more of that shit, more anger, more
More money.
racism, more money,
More
and on
money.
and on and on and on we have gone. But
Yeah.
it's fixable. It's not overnight. It's
Yep.
fixable. It's changeable. Um, Things like
I,
Bad
I,
Bunny
I,
halftime shows move us a step in the right direction. It just
Kendrick
because
Lamar.
we always say representation matters, right? It exposes people to something, and it makes them think about
Makes them
something
uncomfortable.
that maybe they never would have otherwise, even if they didn't love the
Yeah.
show, even if they didn't get it, even if they didn't know certainly the words. Um, they were at least brought along a little
Yep.
bit, given a few breadcrumbs to like maybe
Yep.
be comfortable with something they weren't comfortable with before. I'm hopeful of that.
Before. Yep.
You know,
And Brock, here's the thing too. I remember one of my business coaches not long ago, just a couple of years ago, saying, you know, greatness does not occur in the comfort zone, and neither does growth,
mm,
right? So growth as a human being is not going to grow in the comfort zone, which is why in my TEDx talk, I said, if you want to learn more about the Black and brown culture, you can do it in the safety of your own home, right? You can go on any of these platforms right now, any of these streaming platforms. Everybody's got at least one in their home now, right? Or else you're not watching anything. If you're still
absolutely.
paying for cable, I got swampland I need to sell you in New York City. But, there's a whole Black platform right now about Black American history, right? There's Latino content on these platforms. So if you want to learn, I read Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance, right? And those are precious hours I'll never get back because turns out he's full of shit. But I wanted to know what was upsetting the white male in the
Hmm.
Rust Belt. Like, why is the white male so upset? And
Hmm.
okay, they felt left behind. Okay, but you know, there were
They
other
lost that. Yeah.
alternatives for you. Yeah, there were other opportunities for you,
Yeah. There's a there,
right?
there
And that's
there
what
was
I
a safer land. There's a place to fall, right? I mean,
yes, yes. And so, look, if we had all the answers, we could cure the world's problems in 30 minutes every day at 5 p.m. But some of this stuff is above our pay grade. But you can learn. You can find out, what makes people tick. What are people's fears, right? But we're so busy playing on those fears in order to make a profit, in
mhm.
order to expand the profit margin. I'll tell you what, Brock, I remember must have been 97. I was working in Baltimore. Oprah Winfrey was our lead in at the time, number one show in the 4 o'clock time
I was
slot.
about to say good leading,
Finally,
right?
oh, yeah, great lead in. So, you know what we did? We switched to a 20-minute crime block. So
Uh,
our news came on about 2 minutes before everyone else's at like 4:56, 4:57. And we would come on and go straight live until like 5:17, 5:18. Crime, 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 murder, rape, crime, fire, murder, rape, crime, crime, crime. Oh, look, more crime, right? Scaring the shit out of Metro Baltimore. And it wasn't until years later that I look back on it, because while you're in it, you're thinking, oh, yeah, we're going to, beat the other guys. We're going to be number one, in the ratings. But then when you realize, when you grow up a little bit and you start looking at the business critically, it's all about making the money because that's why we had to be number one, right? And what was the kind of content that was going to make people watch? The scary shit,
yeah. Yep.
right? We,
Fear.
we were going to,
Fear.
we were going
Play to
to,
fear.
yes,
Play to the fear.
yes. So yeah, man. All right, Brody, let's get out of here with a couple of quick hits. What do you got
Yeah,
for
I don't
me?
know if I have a quick hit, but I had a conversation with an older white man and a
Okay.
Latino woman earlier
Wow.
today and showed them the podcast. And they're starting to scroll through the 1 minuters, the
Uh-huh.
shorts that we post for anyone who watches
Sure.
Long Show. Then we post like a bunch of 1 minuters, kind of highlight reels. I did get
Yeah.
I think I got a little bit of a fascination that I had actually prompted by you taking the time to listen to Bad Bunny music and try to,
Uh,
and get an understanding pre Super Bowl. I think it was just a surprise that that was maybe going on in the world, that there was a white guy and a black guy doing this. But I also got a criticism, maybe a constructive criticism. I'm going to lob this out there as maybe also an open invite to somebody out there, because she did say to me, "Is like, how come you don't have a Latino person on your podcast?" And I guess my answer to that would be we would love to have a
Come on
Latino
down.
person with strong opinions about what's going on in America and to talk about how they see it through their eyes. Because my explanation was,
Yep.
well, we're two men in black and white. We can only talk to the lens from which we live and see America. So we would love to do that. We know it's kind
Right.
of hard for some people to get out there and express their political views out there to the world and have it taped and then have it be there forever, right? So,
Right.
but I thought
Right.
it was interesting. I thought it was
Love that.
good feedback for us, and a little bit of an open invitation. We would like to have a Latino guest on there. Maybe
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
I'll speak for myself on this. Like maybe I'm off the mark on a lot of topics.
Yeah. I
How
mean,
would
we've had
how would I
Hervé
know until
on.
someone tells me?
Yeah, we've had Hervé on. He might, be able to check the box, but we want Latino. You know, Hervé is Haitian. That's a good question. We'll have to ask Hervé next time he's on. Does he consider himself Latino? So that would be a great question.
We all
You
ask them.
know,
Yeah. So
yeah, we'll
that
have
was a
to
good
ask him.
learning lesson today. Something we'll think about in the future, and something we'd like to do. Because yeah, it would be
Yes.
additive. And I mean, I just feel like the Latino voice right now, coming, you know, not just because we're coming off of the Bad Bunny performance, but because of what's going on with ICE and
Nice.
in
Yes.
America and being so targeted for a full
Right.
year. Like, yeah, we probably could and should and would love to hear more, firsthand and do some Q&A. And so, all right, just lobbing that out there. It's not necessarily a quick hit, but just sort of something that,
Well,
I learned today and got good feedback on.
especially after, what, it was like almost right down the middle for the Trump vote in the Latino community, half up, half down, right? So, a lot of the Latino community had buyer's remorse afterwards. So, yeah, that would be something else to parse as we head towards midterms if we ever make it.
Hmm.
So, there's a lot to talk to a Latino community expert about their political views and leanings. I have a quick hit for us. It's kind of a sad one, but it is related to the Olympics, and that is the American Airlines crash at 5342 last year when it hit that military helicopter. Um, Maxim Namov is performing. He's skating for the U.S. and he made his first appearance today in the short program as a figure skater, and he lost both of his parents in that crash. So we are still feeling the reverberations of that mistake, that tragic mistake. Um, and our hearts just go out to him. He held up a picture of his mom, dad, and what looks to be a young child. Remember, there was a huge contingent of
Oh,
figure
mm,
skaters
yeah.
on that flight
Juniors, both athletes
that
and
were
parents and coaches.
out of the Virginia.
Uh, is
Yeah, sad.
that was such a sad incident. Like my worry coming off that incident also was like, did like we learn anything? Do we trust that this Department of Transportation took that information and has now delivered us a safer environment? And as I say it, I know my answer is no. Like I don't have any confidence that,
Hey,
it's not, we're not at risk of having something like that happen again because we have a buffoon in charge and we've still gutted that agency. I feel like we're lucky that it hasn't happened again.
yeah. And we just went, what, several days without them getting paid, with the shutdown. As we could, how do you not pay air traffic controllers? Those people, the stress of that job, you want them as happy as they could possibly be. Good Lord. I mean, it is, again, with the Mad King in charge, who knows, right? What the bottom is. We don't know where the bottom is,
Yeah.
especially when it
There's
comes to the economy, when it
we
comes to our
don't know,
safety.
but there's no trust that there's competency and quality in place and like in essence even like a desire for excellence in place to fix
Right.
things and make things right and to make us safer. And this is just another, this is
Yep.
in one area. It's the same for medicine. It's the same for food safety. It's the same for,
Yep.
right, worker safety. Like there's no sense that
Yep.
anything is being done across the board in this administration for the safety of the American people at at all. And so when
No,
you
sir.
remind me of that plane crash, it was the first thing I thought. I was like, lucky we haven't had another one. There's no way this Joker Duffy has like actually, fixed anything. Mark, getting a question in the chat whether we're looking to become, three men
All
in
right.
black, white, and Latino. I'm not sure we're ready to make that leap yet. We definitely want a Latino guest to come on, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll take a baby step before we do a
Yeah.
full reconfiguration. But let's start somewhere. Is I think
Sure.
my my message on that. Last one back to
I
you.
love
What'd you
it.
think?
Send
What'd you think
somebody
of
our
the
way. Send
What'd
them
you
our way.
What'd you think of the Super Bowl, Mark? Kind of like a boring, like you know, lousy game.
Yeah.
Like
Defensive struggle. Yeah. Defensive struggle. Our DJ at the party was good, though.
okay.
So we were good there. So, and I didn't get a chance to check out the commercials yet. I got to go back and watch the
I did.
commercials.
About a good DJ and open bar usually makes everything a little
Right.
bit better, right?
In combination. All right, buddy.
All right, Mark, always
Have
a
a great
pleasure.
night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, take care. Talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Peace.